Welcome to the equipment video for the Procut PFM-9.0 on-car brake lathe. This program will provide instruction for the use and maintenance of this innovative piece of shop machinery. The Procut provides a fast and efficient means for eliminating brake pedal pulsation on virtually any vehicle. Pulsation has become more prevalent as auto manufacturers have taken weight out of brake components. These lighter systems are less robust and far more susceptible to brake pulsation. Pulsation is most often the result of thickness variation in the brake rotor. New rotors are uniformly thick and stop the vehicle smoothly, but thickness variation can develop over time, eventually leading to a pulsation concern. Why does thickness variation develop? Lateral runout in the face of the rotor. A rotor like this one, with lateral runout, will not wear evenly. As the wheel turns, even with the brakes relaxed, the rotor will contact each pad once per revolution, as shown here. The rotor will wear faster at these areas, leading to two thin spots on the rotor. It's easy to picture how a rotor with thickness variation will cause brake pulsation. In order to prevent thickness variation, the rotor must turn on the hub without significant lateral runout. Because most vehicle hubs have lateral runout due to stacked component tolerances, a new rotor, or even a rotor machined on a bench lathe, will often have excessive lateral runout as it turns on the hub. The Procut provides a long-term solution because the rotor is matched to the hub on which it turns, eliminating the uneven wear that leads to thickness variation. Stacked tolerances between hub and rotor result in rotor runout. Rotor runout, in turn, results in uneven wear, which leads to thickness variation. A rotor with thickness variation will pulsate when the brakes are applied. The procedure for using the Procut begins with vehicle preparation. Raise the vehicle on the lift so the hub is about belt level. Be sure the vehicle is in neutral, and check to confirm wheel bearings are snug, since excessive play can compromise the effectiveness of the machine. Once the wheels are removed, calipers should be suspended out of the way of moving parts like half shafts and CV boots. Fall-off rotors should be cleaned with a wire brush. The face of the hub should also be cleaned to ensure the rotor mates solidly with the hub. Before mounting the lathe, check the cutting bits and make sure they're ready for use. The cutting bits are one of the most critical components of this machine. It is vital that they be Procut cutting bits in good condition and properly mounted. In order to determine when to rotate bits, you must monitor rotor finish. If the rotor finish begins to look inconsistent or feels rough to the touch, bits should be rotated. More bits can be ordered directly from Procut by calling our toll-free number. Again, the important procedures to follow before mounting include the following. Be sure the vehicle is in neutral. Check for excessive play in wheel bearings. Remove all wheels and calipers from rotors to be serviced. Clean mating surfaces between the hub and the rotor, and check the bits for wear. The Procut mounts directly to the hub of the vehicle at this center flange. As you can see, the cutting head of the brake lathe is to the right of the center flange. You'll want to begin with the lathe right side up as shown, with the cutting action performed where the caliper is normally mounted. To mount the machine, first select the correct adapter for the vehicle you are servicing. Passenger cars use either the 4-lug or the 5-lug direct fit adapter. Most trucks and vans will require one of the larger adapters. This flat adapter is for dual-wheel trucks. A complete list of available adapters can be found in the owner's manual. Once you've selected the correct adapter, find the bolt pattern that fits the vehicle evenly. Using a hand wrench, secure the adapter in place with either the vehicle's lug nuts or the nuts provided with the machine. Be warned that adapters are not designed to withstand the use of impact tools. Again, do not use impact guns to attach these adapters. Roll the machine into place and attach it to the adapter. The lathe stand is spring-loaded to accommodate different lift heights. Each adapter has a dowel pin which must line up with one of the two holes in the mounting flange. Once the flange is flush to the adapter, the shaft of the machine threads into the adapter by turning the large mounting knob. Snug this knob firmly, then rotate the machine so the cutting head is in position to cut where the caliper was mounted. Lock the machine in place by tightening the trolley handle. The cutting head must also be set. Notice there are a series of tapped holes in the slide plate and a slot in the cutting head. Center the head so the cutting arms will straddle the rotor. Use the T-handle 6mm Allen wrench to secure the head in place. As you tighten this securing screw, it's absolutely critical that you firmly press the head back into the dovetail groove. While one hand is tightening the screw, the other hand must be firmly pushing the head back into the dovetail. If you fail to do this, surface finish will be compromised. Different vehicles have different offsets, so the head must be moved in or out for each vehicle. On large trucks, the head will be mounted as far out as it can possibly go, as shown here. Even though you can see that the head hangs over the edge of the base plate, the lathe will cut smoothly, provided the head is squarely pressed in the dovetail. The important elements of mounting the lathe include the following. Always start with the lathe right side up. Select the correct adapter and mount it to the hub with a hand wrench. Mount the lathe to the adapter, then center and secure the cutting head, being sure to set it back in the dovetail. Compensating for runout with the PFM-9.0 is a very simple process. Once the machine is firmly attached, just turn on the lathe and firmly press the start button. A series of clicking sounds will be heard as the lathe adjusts for runout. The lathe will adjust for a short time, usually less than a minute. After the adjustment is complete, the clicking sound will stop and the control panel will light up with the status report, usually double green lights. This double green reading indicates the lathe runout has been compensated to 1/1000th of an inch or less. The single green light indicates that runout is compensated to less than 3/1000ths of an inch, still within most manufacturers' specifications. In both cases, you may proceed to make the cut. If the red try again light appears, remove the lathe, rotate the adapter 180 degrees, and try again. Often the PFM-9.0 will be able to adjust the second time. Repeated failure indicates a problem with the vehicle components, perhaps a damaged bearing or a bent half shaft. These components should be serviced before turning rotors on the car. This machine is ready to make a cut. Notice that you can still see some radial runout in the machine. This motion is desirable as it will allow the lathe to leave a non-directional finish on the rotor. To review lateral runout adjustment with the PFM-9.0. First, single or double green light indicates the lathe is ready to make a cut. For red try again light, rotate the adapter 180 degrees and try again. Repeated try again light indicates trouble with other brake or hub components, which should be repaired before machining the rotor. Making the cut is a simple operation. First, move the cutting head to the end of the rotor and set the automatic safety shutoff by moving the cam so that it will contact the switch at the end of the cut. Then loosen the clamp knob on the top of the cutting head to allow the cutting arms to spread. Visually check to see that the cutting arms are set wide enough to clear the rotor, and advance the head to the middle of the braking surface using the feed knob. Advance the cutting arm on the back side of the rotor until it just skims the surface. Then advance the cutting arm on the front side of the rotor until it also just touches the surface. This will be the baseline from which cut depth is set. Using the feed knob, advance the head into the inner edge of the braking surface. It is absolutely critical that you do not advance the head too far and strike the head of the rotor. Watch very carefully as you advance the head. Failure to do this will result in damage to the lathe. At the inner edge of the braking surface, use the advance knobs to set cutting depth. Each line on the knob will advance the bit 2/1000ths of an inch. Minimum suggested cut depth is 4/1000ths per side. The PFM-9.0 is designed to take up to 20/1000ths per side, a total of 40/1000ths per pass, and still leave finished cut quality. Be sure to set cut depth deep enough to eliminate all runout in one pass. Tighten the clamp knob on top of the cutting head and mount the disc silencer. This silencer is very important and should be used on every rotor to prevent vibration. It rides right on top of the tips as shown. Disengage the feed clutch by popping the feed knob. The cut will take 2 to 3 minutes depending on the size of the rotor. When the cut is finished, The automatic shutoff will stop the machine. To dismount the brake lathe, simply unscrew the main knob, being careful not to bump the rotor or fender well with the brake lathe. To review the key elements of making a cut with the Procut 9.0. First, set the shutoff cam. Next, make a skim cut on the rotor face to establish baseline. Then advance the cutting head to the inside of the rotor face. Do not hit the hat, which could cause damage to the lathe. Next, set the cut depth deep enough to get everything in one pass, a minimum of at least 4/1000ths of an inch per side. Remember that each line on the dial knob is 2/1000ths of an inch. To prepare the lathe for the other side of the vehicle, you need to remove the chip tray and loosen the trolley handle. Then rotate the machine into the upside down position. All procedures for cutting in the upside down position are the same. However, since the cutting head has already been set in the proper position, it will not need to be moved. The lathe mounts in the same manner. Often the shutoff switch is still depressed from the previous cut, so the machine will not turn on until you move the cutting head. The cutting arms will also be advanced in from the last cut, so be sure to loosen the clamp knob and spread the arms before advancing the head. Adjusting for runout is exactly the same as in the upright position. Just press the button. The entire cutting process is also the same, right down to the silencer clip, which mounts upside down in the exact same position. Advancing the cutting head towards the hat of the rotor requires even more care in the upside down position. Do not bump the hat of the rotor with the cutting arms. To review the important steps of cutting the opposite side, be sure to relieve the cutoff switch, and remember that all operations are just the same as in the right side up position. The best way to ensure smooth operation of the PFM-9.0 is to keep all parts as clean as possible. The cutting head itself should be disassembled once a week and all parts cleaned and lubricated. It is also important to remove the solenoid cap and, using compressed air, clean out any chips or debris that might have been lodged inside. The slide plate under the cutting head needs to be assessed weekly as well. To assess the plate, first remove the 2 Allen screws which attach the feed mechanism to the slide plate. Grab the plate and move it in a diagonal direction. If you feel any play, then the plate is loose. An adjustment is necessary. Slide the plate back and forth on the rails. Unless there is some resistance, the plate is too loose, an adjustment is necessary. There is a small wedge called a gib between the slide plate and the rail. As wear occurs along the rails, the 4 gib adjustment screws at the side of the plate are used to keep the fit snug. To adjust the gib, first loosen all 4 set screws by freeing the 7mm lock nut. Then remove the plate and gib completely and clean all contact surfaces. Use steel wool or a sharp tool if buildup is difficult to remove. Once these surfaces are clean, slide the plate back on and perform the adjustment. Locate the slide plate in the middle and tighten each Allen set screw individually until you feel it snug against the gib. Then lock the screw down with a 7mm lock nut. When the gib is adjusted properly, the plate will have some resistance as it slides, but there will be no lateral movement possible. To reattach the feed block, position the slide plate as far forward as it can travel and wind the feed block in to meet it. Mounting in this manner ensures that the feed block is correctly positioned over the lead screw. Poor surface finish is often the result of a bent tool holder plate. To assess this, align the cutting head on the plate as shown and check with the feeler gauge. Another maintenance issue is the power supply for the brake lathe. The lathe has a powerful 0.95 horsepower motor which requires 20 amp electrical service. All extension cords must be at least 12 gauge and less than 25 feet in length. Drop light extension cords are not recommended. This concludes the program on the setup, operation, and maintenance of the Procut brake lathe. The information outlined here is also detailed in the Equipment Owner's Manual included with the brake lathe. By following these procedures, you will be saving time and matching the rotor to the hub on which it turns, thus eliminating the root cause of pulsation. In doing so, you will be ensuring the satisfaction and safety of your customers. We welcome you to the Procut family of brake lathes and look forward to bringing your brake service to a higher level. If you have any questions concerning the lathe, please feel free to call Procut at 800-543-6618.